Alrighty, let's get into this. First of all, thank you so much for clicking on my video. If you're watching this and we are not live right now, tune into the last 15 minutes where we do a full breakdown of all the stocks that we do cover on this channel. That would be today we're getting into the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, NVDA, AMD, and we're going to check out Meta throughout the day as well. Looks like durable goods is about to come out in just a couple of minutes, so we're getting a late start today, but that's okay because we're here. And we'll have to see what the first reaction is. We do have a lot of data this week. I overall was stating how we could see some overall bigger price swings because of this data. We could get some good, some bad, and we could see the market really start to react back and forth to that. So these daily ranges are going to be very, very useful for this week. Weekly ranges, daily ranges, they're really going to help us out this week. Thank you guys for joining. Smash that like button. A29 about to open. I know I'm only giving you guys 2 minutes before we open, but hey, let's get right into the good stuff. See what that durable goods number comes out as. I do have that up over on the left side. So we had 6.1 minus 6.1, previous minus 0.3, and minus 4.5 was the consensus, minus 4 forecast. So coming in a little bit more negative than expected, and we have to see how the market's reacting right now, opening the SPY up possibly 0.14%. So no big jump yet. We'll have to see what's happening. Q, similar story. IWM getting a good pop there. Apple starting to base out. Really needs to base out down around this area. Amazon looking like it wants to tear maybe further down. We'll have to pay attention to that 2-hour divergence. Tesla about to go into this zone up here. That 207.42 could act as resistance, and NVIDIA not really seeing too much of a pop today. So good morning. Welcome, welcome. Expecting a bearish or bullish day on the SPY. I really think that we need to see deeper levels to find some buyers, a little bit lower, and then we see a good reaction tomorrow. Juan Pablo Montoya. Wait, sounds like a character from a movie. But just because I think that doesn't mean it has to happen. So that overall, we just watch price action. So something better to ask is, if we're going to see a reaction up, how would that happen? If we're going to see a reaction down, how would that happen? That's a little bit of a better question in my opinion. And that would be, if we see this MACD curl up on the 30-minute, you're going to see some positivity come in. This is a long time consolidating, a full day's worth. So if we do curl this back up, maybe we come back down into this area by, say, end of day or something like that, and then we can see that reaction up to test possibly the top side of that weekly expected move. But I would really like us to kind of give a fake out first, come down into this area down here. We can get some support up here. We have a high up here on the SPY. We have this high as well. If we want to dip down in here for a retest of that area, that would give me a little more confidence that this is going to be a steady bounce. So a few things to pay attention to. IWM up 1.2%. We have Netflix up 1.63%. This one looked a little like it wants to roll over soon. All right, so everything's looking way overextended. It would be a good point to even bulls and bears could have a case here to say, hey, there could be some kind of pullback. You see that divergence down here. You have a triple one on the RSI that's about to turn over right here. If it turns over, that'd be a triple divergence, and you have the single one as of right now if we do curl up a little bit. But we almost hit my price target, 620. That's where I really, at the bottom of this, way back here, where was it? This is 2022. Yeah, so way back in here, I made a price target of 620.83, and we're almost there right now. So that's pretty cool. Meta is something we'll keep our eye on. Netflix, I believe you can look at the 2-hour here as well. I know that this is kind of not what we pay attention to too much, but this triple divergence is something I put on my Patreon, which is down in the description if you want to join it to get the weekly ranges for all the stocks we cover. But we don't give the one for Netflix, but you'll see it's right next to negative territory. So if we see some kind of turn down in the next day or so, Netflix can really see some pain going into a negative trend. What else we got popping? Meta going positive. Bitcoin up almost 5%. We talked about the $56,000 area. Looks like we blew past that a little bit. I was overall stating, hey, we could make some kind of small divergence up here and then see this pull back, even back down to this level of 5,000 at this point, see if we can get some traction around here. Two ways I think this actually goes up with Bitcoin. We come down into this area, the top side, and we see that roll back up. Seeing that roll back up on the MACD here, not able to get into negative. If we drop a little bit lower, then you'd be kind of opening the door to, hey, this might be getting into negative territory. Any bounce here could lead us to a drop. So you could see something like this to the bearish side. Bullish side, I think you just want it to hold up a little bit higher, probably around that 50. The Qs, we're really just going to pay attention to the Qs for now and watch these risk ranges for the day. We're already, it's not the biggest range for the day, so that's something to pay attention to. Not too much going on with this, but if we do complete this cupping here, get a little handle, we can start to head higher. Interesting to see what happens before Thursday as we are at the top side of our risk ranges. Whoa, I finally made a thumbnail. Thought about just keeping the old thumbnail though. I kind of like it. Tried to make it semi-close by doing a clown. Today we're most likely going to end somewhere around that 9:40 time. I do have to run out again today. But tomorrow and Thursday we'll be able to hop on here a little bit longer, which is great because tomorrow and Thursday are the most important data drops that we got here. So make sure to smash that like button for me. Let's get some people in here. Appreciate you guys being here. Looks like durable goods all coming in negative. Tomorrow, GDP going to be really important. Expected to come down a little bit, down from 4.9 to 3. Bunch of oil stock going on. A couple Fed speakers at the end of the morning here. Fed Bostic, Collins, and Williams will be speaking. But core PCE is what we really want to pay attention to. Saw that surprise with CPI. Could PCE be surprising us next? That's really what we wanted. Let's just pull that up. We get the headphones on so we can get full on into this, really get zoned in. Zoom, that's what they're talking about right now.
Very old foreign policy narrative from the Brits. Thank you very much, Ed Ludlow in San Francisco.
And I was doing something
cruise
on this
lines.
computer.
Norwegian expects a surprise profit for the current quarter after healthy consumer demand. Simone Foxman is with
us for a sec. Alrighty. Morning, good morning, good morning. They're talking about the Norwegian cruise line, NCLH. Let's see what they're talking about. It's fun to look at this stuff. Oh my word. Yup, that is pretty good. Let's see, could you have found this anywhere? Here's the thing, if we were watching this, all we had to see was this. I mean, earnings, we don't really trade around that, but 2-hour divergence down here before the earnings gave you a little hint the momentum was dying with that good news, and then right here you had a 2-hour divergence, got you a little bit of a pop here for quite some time. So you're able to find this little trade right here. Most likely you would have made some money if you did a little quick week or 2 out, week play. Cool. That's what they're just looking at right now. 2-hour here, looking if that's able to roll over for the Qs soon. That can go into negative territory. We're starting to get a little bit, we spread out for a little while, right? And now I expect we're going to start to see price get tight over the next few days. Could be a little bit wonky though. I missed the data. Was the release already? Yes, it came in negative. And right now the reaction in the market to that negative number, it came in at -6. Exact number real quick. Durable goods orders month over month came in at -6.1, expected to be -4.5 or -4. Previous was -0.9. 1.3. So that's a big increase there. We're not seeing a huge reaction out of the market yet. Maybe they just can't decide how to read this data just yet. And then we'll choose a direction in a little bit. So that's why we want to react to the price action here. See if we can get some cheaper prices on some of these stocks for now. Who's got plays for the day? Anybody got plays they're doing this week? Everyone had NVIDIA plays last week. What's everyone doing this week? And also, we'll keep an eye on NVIDIA staying below that 800 number. Pretty important level for it to hold up at if we're going to see more bullishness, because there are so many calls at 800. I actually want to see if it's updated. There's bearish in theory, bad data is good news. Yeah, so that's the overall thing that the Fed was doing with the CPI being kind of covered up, right? So we saw the CPI reaction. We all saw this reaction right here, right? We saw this reaction. They don't like that. The next day they send people out. They send some talking heads out. And what do they say? Bad news is good news and good news is good news. And then we see that drop off again. Which on the keys here, you did have a subtle little 30-minute divergence down here we were talking about, but that was right around NVIDIA earnings. And I don't care. Trying some more Bitcoin. Which to the upside. You see, Jandis, how we curled up. We were able to hit around that 56,000. I thought it would stop at 56. It's at 57 something now, 57.3. I got put yesterday for NVIDIA. Not the worst thing in the world, honestly. The only thing I would say about the put side is just pay attention if NVIDIA starts to hold above 800. Because that's where the calls are. We can see those shorts start to get squeezed if they pile up. And I'm going to pull up Max Pain anyway, just for funsies here. Just because I like looking at NVIDIA's options at Max Pain in the morning, because it updates overnight. And yes, so if you want to look at the call walls now, you're getting a little bit of puts to increase at this 700 and 750. But you're noticing 800, 850 climbing up there. 850 was like down to here, maybe even with this right here. Now it's up here at 16,000 contracts, 16,000.3 contracts. So this is a lot of bullishness coming in, and we have to see if this is going to hold strong. If this holds strong underneath 800, for a while this week, we could see more selling come in as people go underwater above this price point. Doesn't mean it's bearish necessarily. We could just see some of that selling come in. You really want 750, your first put wall, to hold up. Jorge likes his GM. We'll look at GM for you. George. I don't know what you go by. George. This one, we're seeing that trickling up effect. So this is where it pays to be patient with divergences like this one. As of right now, that's flatness right here, but you do have that overall divergence right here. So what this did was get a cup, here's the handle, and now we kind of move upward, and actually this completed another cup, made another handle, and then we saw that retest right around here and start heading higher. This is where it pays to be patient, right? Don't try to guess when this thing is going to cross, because it can just, when it gets this low, it can just trickle up like this. So you really want to wait for that confirmation. You're still going to get a good price as long as you are patient. AMD down 1.5%. NVIDIA down 2% now. So we really have to pay attention to this 750 line if we're able to get there. But it's still good. It's still a volatile thing right now, right? NVIDIA is still volatile. So as long as this doesn't hold in negative for too long, then you're not going to come fill this gap. If this is able to get some kind of reaction here and remain in positive territory, that actually would be a good thing. Maybe it's at least going to come test 800 again. I just don't see it stopping with all the institutions entering. And you could be seeing rotations from that too. We know that a lot of Bitcoin traders like to switch between Tesla, what was another, like meme stocks and things like that. But Tesla and Bitcoin, it's like when people sell out of Tesla, they go into Bitcoin. That actually happened a lot with NVIDIA. So a lot of the Tesla traders switched to NVIDIA. for a little bit, but institutions getting into Bitcoin, not a bad sign. Just, is this going to head higher with this divergence? It can. I just think it needs to consolidate a little bit in order to head higher. And then if it drops significantly, we'll be looking for, which we're about to head into a period of time where this is something good that you guys can know. There's really 3 things that could bring down this market most likely in the next month. So if you want to really pay attention to those, it would be this week. That'd be PCE. PCE can disrupt this market and start a negative trend. Next week, we have Jerome Powell with Congress, I think. That can really shake things up if he starts to actually talk about the things that we've been wanting to know, because they'll actually ask him questions and he technically has to answer. And then the last thing would be CPI ticking up one more time in March. CPI ticks up one more time in March, we could be seeing some of that pain, kind of that wake up, like, hey, the Fed literally said in their FOMC minutes that they don't feel they're in full control of inflation anymore. And guess what? CPI went up, PCE goes up, and CPI goes up. There's a lot of things there that can take it down. I love that. Probably now I'm putting it together. Mr. Rosales, you probably were just saying good morning, and every time you say GM, I check the GM stock. I'm too locked in. That's what it is. I'm too locked in. Let's just see. Nothing really happening with the spine cues. I'd really like to stay watching this this one here. I'm glad you guys are laughing at me this morning. That's great. Oh, good. I'm listening. Hey, I mean, it's a fun one to look at right now. You want to see SMCI, Nana? Mindful Notions here. What's up? Good morning. We got Ocean Goose. Jandis already showing up. All right, let's take a look. Let's see what SMCI's reaction is. This is where the power selling came in. We did a really good job talking about this before this big run here. Right at this day right here, yes, it was a very bullish day. We overall were like, hey, we could go up to 1,000 because those round numbers are very attractive to people. And guess what? Look, we go above 1,000. We see that selling come in. And then we see that bounce. Where do we go to? Well, we go to right about 1,000. So now you're seeing consolidation. This still is not bearish as of right now. This could consolidate like this. We could see another break to the upside. Just with PCE this week, if that's able to tick up, we're most likely not going to see these pops unless we see it tomorrow with the GDP. Thank you guys for joining. Smash that like button. AMD, really, I want to maybe look at some 2 hours because these have been selling off. We talked about this being some kind of flagging. Looks like it could have based out here, but it just took a bunch of time, built a lot of liquidity. Once that sells breaks through this low here, we're seeing that selling come in. This is where you want it to hold up, though. You really want AMD to start to hold up at this area, kind of in the middle of this consolidation. That's always good. And then also you have gap support right in here. So yeah, look at that consolidation, Nana. And also, you know, there's a little bit better looking stuff that has higher probabilities of popping. You know, I know everyone's looking for that moment to get into these types of things and it just skyrockets. One of the ones we've been paying attention to is Apple, right? Apple has been selling off pretty good for quite some time. And we're noticing some 2-hour stuff happening here. This is a trade that I took. I got out of it, but sometimes it wants to base out a little bit later. So if this actually wants to confirm as a divergence, I see some kind of reaction here, might mean that we're going to see some positivity actually in Apple because we do have daily divergences as well. So as this loads here, we'll see that there's daily divergences, which this might have just been violated. Yeah, this actually just unconfirmed, but you do have it on the RSI. So when you have it on one but not both, I overall treat that as some kind of bounce or pullback if it's the other way. So this could just be a little bounce to then get another drop. If we do want to see that, maybe we get some kind of retest and then see that drop again. but it's in negative territory. A little bit of a sketch time there. Tesla actually going up into this area here. So this is what we were paying attention to. I think it was on a 2-hour. This was a good trade so far. If you're still in it, this was a good trade. It took a little bit of time to happen. You notice that resistance. Where is it? It's right where our box is. Literally right where our box is. So at least we're doing a good job of finding those resistances, right? We're doing a good job of finding the resistances, finding some of those supports, right? So our support, 190.10, we were talking about that up in here. 190.10, look for a reaction down to there. If it starts to break below that level, watch out for these lows. They can get tested. But we see that buying back up, flag sideways a little bit. Now we get another pop higher, resistance coming in right where we're expecting it. I'm in a May call on Tesla. Be very careful around PCE with your trades. I would just say that. You're coming up into a zone where we just gapped way out of. This is a very important zone. We've noticed some buying in this zone before. This is why it's important. So we noticed we bought back up. Boom, we struggle to break through it. Once we do, we don't stay down there for long. We gap above it, so that's important. We don't want, in this moment, the buyers to become sellers. We don't want that selling to, that resistance to come in. So because you break through it as support, now you can use it as resistance, so we gap above it. Guess what? Once we go above it, now we can use it as support again, and we see that launch higher. So this just tells you this zone is important. We stayed in there for quite some time, and now we're about to hit that zone. Is it going to become resistance? That's overall the thinking there. NVIDIA not down as much now. Qs and SPY really seeming like they don't have a direction just yet. You're pretty much waiting for two things to happen. Bearish one, boom, boom, boom. We start to break down. The bullish one would be that we just start to turn up right now. And then the other one would be if we dip a little bit lower, maybe this is a fake out and we see that rotate back up in positive territory. Really, the cases I'm seeing in front of me. Tesla going all the way up to 204. My goodness. We really like this 207 level. We paid attention to that a lot on this channel. Meta going green. This is one we gave you those weekly ranges for. We haven't tested one of them yet. Really would like a test of these early on in the week to give me some hints of which way to position myself for those probabilities. But like we're seeing some selling come in just a little bit on Meta here. Nothing too crazy happening. I know they were looking at a couple that on Bloomberg that had some good reactions, but go see what they're doing, because sometimes I like to look at the stocks that they actually talking about. Oh, government shutdown deadlines Friday as well. So we have a lot of bearish things that can happen.
He also was speaking to Seth Meyers late night last night and said that what he was, the indications he got was potentially we'd have something by
2 seconds tickish.
March 10. So potentially sometime between next Monday and Sunday, you could see a hostage negotiation. But I look at what Netanyahu has said over the weekend, which was that he says Hamas's claims are delusional. And until Hamas gets more in line, they would not want to forgo with an agreement. You have to remember, Biden's comments came just before today in Michigan.
Oh man, my hair.
We have a primary vote
for
the Democratic Party. Now, yes, Biden is going to win this primary.
Go put some hair product.
There's a lot of individuals that are going to go out and potentially vote uncontested. They do not want, they are voting this way potentially to send a message to the White House that they want to see more being done to protect Palestinians in Gaza.
Okay, Anne-Marie, thank you very much for joining us. That's Anne-Marie Hordown with the very latest on Capitol Hill, counting down to a potential shutdown. Let's get the second transaction in under the hood. Abigail Doolittle is with me. We're 22 minutes into the session. What have we got, Abby?
Interesting sector composition. We have the S&P 500 down slightly right now. The top sector, utilities, that is a defensive sector. Yields mix, so those dividends may look a little bit more attractive to investors.
If we just hang out right here and
Discretionary real
GDP
estate
comes
up
out
there.
positive, we
Tech
see
is
a
the worst
positive
sector on the
reaction.
day. Not a large decline.
We're
Down
probably going to
0.1%,
move up.
but of course, there is a big weighting to the S&P 500.
We don't see
there.
any
Let's
drop
take a look at a
today
space
at
that is
all.
really surging higher, though, and that is the biotech space. The overall
15
biotech
minute,
ETF
you got a 15-minute divergence here.
up more than 2%, and it
Meta.
still is about that high. Viking
AMD, you probably got like a 15-minute forming.
This is now a roughly $6 billion
Oh, that's a
market cap
wonky one, though.
And you guessed it.
Yeah,
it
these
has
don't
to
look
do
very
with
good, to be
obesity drug
honest.
Results. They did a trial. I think it was a late-stage trial, and it's pretty impressive.
Nothing looks
if
great
we look at Eli Lilly
as
and
far
Novo
as
Nordisk,
upside.
we would actually see those shares down. So a new entrant, Manus, into these very popular.
But you never know; it can flip around. We just have to watch the MACD here.
It's going to be a fiercely contested zone. It's going to be interesting to see where the pricing goes on that. Abby, thank you very much. Rounding up the sectors for you. I'll set your agenda for the rest of the week. And guess what? It's got a little bit of Fed speak in it. There you go. It's a beautiful day under the clouds in New York.
Is it? Is it beautiful in New York, guys? Oh my gosh, what a nothing burger of a day, though, so far with the Qs and the SPY. Are they catching up to any daily moving averages? Assuming the 9's just below us, so it would make total sense for us to retest right here. Like, I would really like to see that happen. Down here under the Clydes. Wait, that was Scottish. Wait, is he Scottish? You guys want to hear my favorite joke? Well, Irish or Scottish joke? Just someone want to hear my joke? Someone just goes, no, dude. Someone's got to be. Yeah, tell us a joke, silly man. Let's see. It's up 2 points. All right, Mr. Rosales, here we go. Why do we only put 239 boons in me soup, Mr. Rosales? Because if you'd be adding one more, it'd be 240. Like 5 people just left the stream after that. No more jokes. Let's see. What is Bitcoin doing now? Still sitting up. Actually came below 57,000. Ha, I get it. Yeah. 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 I shouldn't tell jokes, guys. I'm really trying to... Oh, actually, something we could look at, the VIX here. I still want to see if this 2-hour gets some kind of roll up. I mean, it can just keep going down, though. I mean, it really can't. It's in negative territory. By no means not overextended to the downside. Technically, the VIX doesn't oversell. Right? Not a price, it's a reading. But filling this gap would look good. Fill this one. Boom, go fill this one. Retest, go start to head to higher levels. Like, volatility this week would make a lot of sense coming into this week. And then maybe we see that subside with Jerome Powell giving us some fluff talk next week. But really, those 3 instances you want to pay attention to this week and going into March. PCE, the Congress, Jerome Powell at Congress next week, I believe. Also, government shutdown could be included in that as well. But anything related to the government, that happens Friday as well, so there might be a shutdown Friday. But CPI is the other big one. CPI in March, if that ticks up again, we might get a bigger reaction than the last CPI if it ticks up twice and like 2 times, pretty good. So, I like my lines off here. Good enough. HYG, let's look at some little signals here. HYG was something we were talking about, still holding sideways, about to curl up, possibly in positive territory. We could see that positivity, but the fact that the high yield growth is still hesitating while the market still at this point continued to go higher, little bit worrisome. Now the housing sector, something we like to pay attention to, did get a break to the upside, got that crossing of the MACD, but it doesn't look the strongest. That's not a very strong move. You'd really like with this consolidation for quite some time. That's a lot of liquidity built up. You'd really like to see a stronger move out of this. Didn't necessarily get that yet. Still not a bad sign, right? This consolidation sideways then leading to an uptick. We have plenty of room on this RSI to head higher, but you have to pay attention to divergences on things like this because it can kind of give you those sell signals, those potential times to be a little cautious. Doesn't mean your day-to-day you need to be as cautious right now. I mean, look at it. It's just sitting kind of right where it was. It's literally at 0 up, 0 down. So, but at least once things do maybe get wonky today, we do have those daily ranges. I was really hoping for some fireworks today. That'd be fun. Tesla's starting to sell off from that zone. Right when it gets towards it, we see that start to pull back down. This is great, though. I mean, it could see that more strength. It completed the cup, got the handle. Now it pops higher. I think last night we were saying, hey, this could start to pop just right now. But look for that to curl over. We could hold up around this area. I felt like this area was very important if we saw any selling, but trap, there's that zone. NVIDIA still holding below 800. Just pay attention to that. It's going to be very important all week long, and we just lost a day yesterday, right? So we're closer and closer to that expiration. Just trying to keep an eye on the puts, because if the puts start to stack up and then NVIDIA starts to hold at the level it is, the puts are mainly at 750 and 700, so they can go underwater pretty quick too. Use setting up. I wouldn't really call it head and shoulders, but just consolidation. This is great, right? This isn't head and shoulders, but we're just using liquidity. We're building liquidity right here. That's not a bad sign. We could easily see a reaction up, get some kind of downturn, and curl back up. So I believe GDP should be overall decent for the market tomorrow. GDP expected 3.3. Previous 4.9. I think a good positive number there, 3.3. I really think people would react still pretty well. Because that's saying like, oh, okay, there's growth. There's my good news. That's overall what people are needing right now. They need some kind of news to know which direction to go. But is GDP just going to be a trap that gets us out of here? We know, hey, that's all that the options market has priced in. Now they're going to need more good news up in here to go higher. So if we see that reaction, do we see that kind of subside on Thursday? The Doge going up 8. Wait, what is that? 8%? How's everyone doing this morning? We all doing good? Trade's doing pretty good? What's happening? Seemed like a lot more people were freaking out with NVIDIA last week. This week seems a little calmer than usual. It's kind of freaking me out. Like a calm before some kind of storm or something. Trying to decide if today's a 2 cop. SPY creeping up. It's just bouncing back and forth, though. It's really just sitting right in here. So if you wanted to, in the short term, you could create a little line here, maybe even a little line here. Say, hey, if I get a breakout to the upside, good chance I test this high. See if I can create some kind of handle over here to go higher. If I break through this low here, I really want to pay attention to that gap support, which is right by our daily range. That's right. I always forget the Palo Alto Pawn W. That's what it is. I need to add this one. Good reaction so far. Now, remember, we talked about this reconnecting with the moving averages. What is it doing right now? It's reconnecting with the moving averages. So whenever you get outside of the Bollinger Band dramatically like this, or even sometimes just out of it a little bit, you always want to wait for that retest of these moving averages, and then you can see it pull back down. Get this 9 to kind of follow you down. That's the better way. So you see how this 9's dropping down like this. We get the retest. If sellers can hop back in here, we can see this start to follow price action down and stay caught up. Right now, you cannot say this is like another bullish thing until we see this get into positive territory. Big drop off here. This could just be a bounce off the 200 reaction, and then we start to head to lower prices, right? 1, 2, 3. So this is that reconnection. Now, if it wants to retake this, if it wants to retake these moving averages, then I'd say, hey, yeah, you have a great shot of coming to fill this gap up in here. So if we get another green bar that really solidifies it here, and then here we start to cross on this MACD, positive territory, we could see that push all the way up to something like a 400. Q's going green. Daily, we don't. Here. Q's going green, SPY green, creeping up like we're saying. And we're still in a fight here. We're in a fight between the bulls and bears. Everyone's trying to figure out which way they want to push this market as of right now. Video still holding below 800. But just some stuff to pay attention to. And here in about 25 minutes, I'm going to do our full stock rundown where we go through every stock that we cover on this channel in the last 15 minutes. So stick around for that. Leave a like on the channel if you have enjoyed my videos in the past. If you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. Think about hitting that sub button and turning on those notifications so you know when we're live. We try to go live every single day, at least for 1 hour in the morning. Usually I'm pretty busy after that, but on Wednesday and Thursday, I will be able to hang out a little bit longer. Oh, and then Friday this week. So here's what'll get you guys to like the stream. All right, Friday this week, I'm going to give the daily ranges for every stock that we cover on this channel on YouTube. Thursday night, we're also going to give you the updated monthly risk ranges. You see these yellow lines here. This was the monthly range for the whole month of February. We've just hung out at the top side. We see that resistance come in right around here, almost midway through February. We're right back at that point again, and we're seeing us start to hesitate. The good part here is we talk about this, okay? When you get towards resistances, if you consolidate in front of them, that's a good sign. It's a very good sign that people want to consolidate sideways. If they get a little good news, you're going to get that reaction up because you just built all this liquidity. But if that news is bad, you can see that ripped away. So you just notice we didn't have a big news event like CPI. It's allowing us to hang up at this price point and then see this possibly go higher soon. Still want to pay attention to the actual data that's coming out. But I think Friday for the daily ranges for every stock that we cover on this channel, I think that'll be very useful. I might even stick the weekly ranges on there too to see if any of them are testing them as of Friday or if they're going to get towards them as of Friday. Sometimes when you get towards Friday, the daily and the weekly end up lining up. And that actually happened last week. Last Friday, we had them kind of line up and we saw that resistance come in pretty much right where we expected it to. I think the weekly was like here and the daily was here. Actually, I want Meta there. There we go. Meta's one that I'm just paying attention to. Looks like it could start completing this cup, get that handle. Most likely I'm looking at a 30-minute divergence forming towards the top side here. Maybe getting a little bit more of a reaction, right? Seeing that wick out up towards that weekly expected move that we're giving you for Meta this week. NVIDIA still holding below that 800, was able to buy up. Now this could be the cupping right here. This could be cup, we get the handle, and then we could break down to this level. Maybe that's all said and done. If you get a handle here, we could break down further. But right now, this plus this might equal this. And then see if that's able to turn back all the way up. If that's able to roll back up, that'd be good news there. But you need some kind of reaction around that 750 level. Apple, a little bit of a double bottoming here. Really, this is a flat day. No real reaction to that news on it. That's a pretty big surprise. You'd expect some kind of move. That they're talking about over here for a little bit. They keep talking about the Norwegian.
Kind of the season. You see that 6,800 passengers. That is a monster.
Well, when I was in Aruba, I think
Yes.
you were in Aruba at the same time.
Yep.
I saw some of those boats coming in.
Yep.
They're
I saw some of
the size
those
like
boobs.
2 city
They are.
blocks,
What?
and they're
Yep.
they're
Saw
higher
some of
than
those
this, I mean,
boots.
not higher than this building, but probably literally,
Huge.
I would say
The amount of times I mess up
20,
talking, I can't talk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
20 story. I mean,
They want to be
unbelievable.
Vegas. They want to be Vegas. But you know what
Yep.
you need in order to go on a cruise and spend money? Confidence. And as we saw, consumer confidence
Yep.
wasn't that great.
Nice sequel. Good.
Hey, Abigail, thanks a lot. We really appreciate Abigail Doodle joining us there. So let's get to that consumer confidence data. So overall, as Paul and John were talking about, coming in at 106.7. That is lower than January, and it also missed. Present situation not looking as great either. 147.2. The expectation number coming in at 79.8. So Dana Peterson is chief economist over at the Conference Board. She helps to get through all this data. Hey,
consumer
Dana, what
confidence.
should my takeaway be from these numbers?
Down a little bit.
I think the key takeaway is that the numbers are
Consumer
still pretty
confidence down a
range
little
bound.
bit.
We haven't seen a breakout in confidence to the upside yet. We did see a dip in the measure for
Really?
February, and January was also revised down. I'm sorry, for January, and then December was also revised
We're
downward.
we're
And
just
certainly in
we're
this
we're
month,
struggling to see
reading, we
confidence.
saw that both expectations and current position.
We're
current conditions
struggling to
improved.
see that
And
confidence.
importantly, when we ask
Not
consumers
not
about
here. Sorry, we're
recession,
struggling to see that
that
confidence
expectation ticked up a little bit after falling pretty
here.
steadily for many months.
all the way up
What do
here.
we take here? I mean, when we look at this consumer confidence data points, how do you guys look at it? What's a reasonable time series for you guys?
Well, we look at it as a whole. There's a lot of information in there. And certainly when we look at the details, consumers were a little less optimistic about employment and business conditions.
Yeah,
right
jobs
now.
is
They
searched.
also
It's
complained
more
about
than
their finances
700% now
not being as strong
from last year this
currently.
time.
Also looking
word
ahead,
job is being
consumers
searched
were
like
pretty
crazy.
unhappy about employment, business, and income, and their financial situations. They're expected.
Oh, one thing I am going to be adding to the Patreon if you want to join is not only do you get the monthly ranges, the weekly ranges, for sure you'll get the daily ranges every Friday on there. We're going to do it for free on YouTube for a little bit just to make sure people like it. But I am on Patreon, which is down in the description. I'm going to be doing a midweek update where we kind of take a look at what the stocks look like with their weekly risk range up. That way we can see, you know, by Wednesday, are we getting excited out of this, and are we going to see that drop, possibly with that 68% chance to land in here? Well, we can see if there's momentum plays. I'm just going to overall really utilize those weekly ranges for each individual stock and kind of break them down accordingly. Because if you get something like this, you can create 30-minute divergence, 68% chance to land back in this zone. Kind of just talk about the probabilities going on at the midpoint of the week to see where we could end up by Friday. I felt like that would be very useful, and a lot of people on Patreon, I already asked them, and a few of them have already said, yeah, that would be great. So that's something to look forward to. If you were thinking about joining, well, now you're going to get an extra video that no one else does. But talking about consumer sentiment, feeling about puts on Coinbase, about 204 puts. I don't know why I'm down 20%. 204 puts. Risk my coin here. Coin's one I don't pay too much attention to. Daily here, you're gonna have that divergence. I would have been a little bit more patient here. This trade makes sense. I totally get what you're saying here. Well, if you bought them yesterday, did you buy them yesterday or did you just buy them? And if you're down 20%, it's what is your expiration? Because your expiration can affect that a lot. But this could be the pricing. So you could have got premium pricing. You could have a bunch of people trying to short this, causing the price of those options to actually be a little bit higher. So if this thing remains higher, you're going to be a little bit underwater. But overall, I understand your thinking here. You have the potential for that divergence, and you finally get that outside of the Bollinger Band. You even have a small divergence right here on the RSI. This divergence here, you'd have to treat, hey, this could be some kind of pullback. If you wanted this to fully reverse, you really want this to cross over. This, if it starts to curl down and cross, it's going to cross about here, much closer to negative territory. So this is I understand your thinking here. Dang, this was a great trade though. Like Coinbase, this was a great trade. You see that swing trade right here. You see the tightness of the Bollinger Bands. Boom, we explode higher. Great trade to the upside. I got them yesterday. I went ahead and averaged down. My average cost is 211 and I out March 8th. So you got about a week and a half. Good. I mean, it's not the worst thing to do, right? As long as you're comfortable with it and you have your risk management there, just know your prices you want to stay below. If this starts to come above this on the MACD or start to match this, we could be seeing something blow off. But really, these are great trades. Look at this. Divergence up here, not on the MACD, on the RSI, a little bit right here. This could have baited you, but if you were patient and able to take your time with your risk management, then you take this one. Boom, look at that drop off for a few weeks there. I'm guessing right around here we're going to see 2-hour divergence. And look at that, we see that 2-hour divergence. So you do have that 2-hour divergence right down here. Caused a little bit of a pop, right? But I'm guessing no good news here. Weren't able to, then we see that full curl up, reject off the 200 on the 2-hour, come back down. Now you have that divergence really close to positive territory. Something I go over in my course. The course is $100 right now. I really want, because I think we're going to start to turn around in this market, like over the next month. I think March I'm going to leave it at $100, and then at the end of March I might up that to 200, which is as high as I want to make it. By the way, I don't want to keep increasing it and make it 500, 1,000, or $1,500, 50% off. I don't want to be one of those guys. Just that's what it's worth. Now, a good thing here is, look at this big cup in here. You got the handle. You could see more positivity here. But as we look at the daily, we can see we're starting to lose some steam, and we do have a 2-hour divergence. So I would say this, as far as your trade goes, if this is able to curl back down on the 2-hour, usually 2-hour divergences lead to a crossing on the daily for stocks that trade, not necessarily Bitcoin, but stocks that trade during market hours, so Coinbase. So if this is able to turn around on this MACD, you're not in the worst spot. You just don't have much time. So if we link back up with some of these moving averages, come into a point of liquidity, boom, right here. If you're able to get to this point right in here, that might be where you start to go, okay, look for some kind of bounce, maybe start to think about taking profit. And if you actually take the course, I teach you how to make the risk ranges yourself, because I don't make the risk ranges for the week for coin. But there is a simple method that I give you to make those ranges. So there's a lot of benefits to the course when it comes to trading individual stocks like this. You can get the weekly range, which I'm guessing was right up here this week. So we'll keep an eye on it, but I would overall say you can feel more confident if this is able to pull down, cross on this MACD to the downside here. You have that divergence on the MACD and RSI at the same time. So 2-hour has the potential to go into a negative trend. I understand you're thinking the only thing that you have to worry about is this is a big cup, this is a handle, and you're still in an uptrend here. Nothing really too negative about this. Even on the daily, yes, you got that big pullback, but that pullback was just that. You didn't lose the 200 or anything like that. We see that cross up. Good swing trade here. Boom. We see that explosiveness to the upside. Little pullback to reconnect with the 9. Remember, that's what we're saying right now about Palo Alto. You could just be reconnecting with that 9 before you want to see more positivity. That Palo Alto is the other way, though. We want to reconnect with that 9 before we see more negativity. Now, if Palo Alto starts to climb back above some moving averages, we'll change our tone. Hey, what up, Dr. Monkfish? Right? I wasn't crazy. Yeah, see, we're seeing the resistance come in. So something like this is very similar to what happened on coin. Now it's just the opposite direction. So we're getting that retest. If we're able to curl back down, see if we're able to break through the 200, then you're in a really bearish trend here once you lose that 200. NVIDIA seeing a little bit of a bounce. Tesla bouncing 2%, going slightly back up, right? But it's at the top of our risk or our Bollinger Band here. Have to pay attention to that. NVIDIA 315.7 call. Do you think they have another push? Or is it rolling? It just depends on the news for tomorrow and how people react. Based on what's happening right now, I would really, as far as that goes, I would really see if this 30-minute is able to curl back up. We just talked about this, but overall, you're completing a little bit of a cup right here. So this could be some kind of small handle to head lower. This is where I'd really start to pay attention to NVIDIA, just because you have gap support here. You have that 750 number, which is a whole number, a pretty round number that is your first put wall. So 750 is really where I would start to look at NVIDIA. But if this crosses in positive territory, you're not oversold on the RSI anymore. You can see more positivity come in. Just need to note your 800 level is where everyone has their calls right now. Everyone has their calls at 800 and like 850. Yeah, 800 and 850 are the two numbers to the upside you want to pay attention to. I really like my weekly ranges for take profit type stuff. So I'll give you this one. The upside for NVIDIA for the entire week is 835. So if we start to get towards that 850, we do have that 68% chance to end a little bit lower. Okay, guys? Do you think we're better invest ASAP? I would say I missed the run. That's how I would treat this right here, is say I missed the run. I need to be diligent here and wait for, you know, a better trade, just because you do have that divergence here. So you do have divergence here, hasn't confirmed, but if you do, we have a lot of news this week. So you have the potential for a negative reaction. And considering we just went up this fast in 2 days, you can go just as fast down the other way. You can even, in Bitcoin, we can see that go even faster the other way. So I see divergence. Whenever I see something like this, there's no way that I am going to think of this as an investment at this point. Now, where I last traded Bitcoin was actually down in this area. This makes a lot more sense, right? Because I'm getting a bunch of divergences, and I'm pretty sure I had a weekly divergence is what I normally use to figure out if I'm going to hold something. Yeah, I didn't have divergence down here. I swore I did. Oh, that's right. I played it as a bounce. Okay, so I played it to, actually, I think I sold right about here. Nothing too crazy, just because I saw these lows come in. This is tapering off, which means the downside is getting a little less dramatic. So I noticed that, hey, this crossed on the MACD way back here. Now I have that divergence down here on the RSI. This right here, boom, we get above my moving averages right there. That's my entry point. I exited right about at that 25324, just because we're still in negative territory. And then we started to roll down, and I was like, oh, there is potential for another push lower to my purple zone. I really like this purple zone. I think Bitcoin will end up there over the next couple years. in this purple zone way down here, starting around that $13,000, $14,000 mark. I really think Bitcoin will end up there. But I also am bullish on Bitcoin in the long term. I think it'll hit 100,000, maybe 125,000. But that's a long term. That could take years to happen. We could see some kind of bear market post up. But as we get into this zone, that's where I'm going to start to accumulate. It's kind of a accumulation zone, if you will. If you're here early on, I used to do a Bitcoin video every Saturday. It's just, I needed a day off throughout the week, so I just kind of got rid of that. But weekly for Bitcoin is very good. Look at this buy signal above all the moving averages, above the 200. That's huge. We got the crossing of the MACD. The next week, you could even maybe have jumped the gun, got into here. Guess what? You see that strength. You come outside the Bollinger Band, maybe you take some off. As you are overbought at that point, this would be a good place to take profit, right? So you could have a little trade from about 30,000 up to 43,000. Get out of that, see that move sideways. More positivity with the rejection. So there's some stuff going on. Good morning, Daniel. How you doing? But you see that slight weekly divergence on the RSI at the, or not on the MACD at the same time. So right now you would say, hey, this might pull back. Where would it pull back to? Well, in the last point of liquidity. So this could pull back into here. I would like it to sit up a little higher and then start to curl back up. Easier to see on the daily here because the daily MACD and RSI have these divergences well within positive territory. So if this wants to sit up a little bit higher, then I would say, hey, there might be more positivity here. If this curls up, take a little trade right there. Now, if we dip lower than that, we do have a lot of things that could make the market bearish in March. So if we pull lower than that, this could be some kind of dead cat bounce to give us that head and shoulders. So it just depends where it wants to hold up for me, at least. So if we hold up at that 50, I'll be a little confident. If that rolls over, getting that crossing down here on the MACD in positive territory. Meta seeing that positivity come in here. 30-minute kind of flattened out, looking like it wants to make another push higher. So a lot of stuff looking like they want to move a little bit higher. Is that going to happen today, or are we going to wait for the next data? Because it was a little bit of a dud, honestly, which is surprising because it was kind of a shock when you get that big of a difference. What was it? Negative 3 to... I'm sorry, negative 4.5 was the highest consensus there, and negative 6.1 is what it actually came out as for the durable goods, and negative 0.3 was the previous month. So that's a big change. It's worse, or it's more negative than expected. You would expect some kind of reaction from the market. Maybe it's because the Fed came out and said, you know, good news is good news and bad news is good news, so people are a little confused right now. But it's not, and you just know this, it's not enough good news initially to push the market higher. So maybe they have to, you know, wait for that GDP tomorrow. But my goodness, if this is flat like this the rest of the day, oh my gosh, it is going to be watching grass grow, watching paint dry all day today. Let's see, they're talking about curves.
That was one of the big reasons for that.
And then hence like the short positioning, and then now the
Let me know if the
come in more clean
sound of them talking is good.
PC.
Yeah, it seems that way. That I still think that people are leaning at least a little bit on the short side. There were a lot of people who
say that it's going to pump up to 300K to 500K. So we can keep looking at Bitcoin.
What we call
Bitcoin is not going to 300K unless the thing that I think happens does happen, which would be people rotate out of all the other coins. If they rotated out of things like Dogecoin, pretty much all the coins that aren't big names, so even like Cardano might be a little bit safe, Ethereum could be safe, Ripple might be safe, but Dogecoin, things like that, if money starts to outflow out of those, we can see it inflow to Bitcoin. But I overall had an estimate of about that's my estimate here based on my technicals from before. was 128,948. So right around that 130,000 is where I see it getting. But that would be long term. I don't think that's going to happen like right now. I really don't. I actually think it needs to dip a little bit lower to really get people excited here. Oh, I can get, why would I hold Dogecoin? I can get Bitcoin for $10,000. Think of that in your head. Imagine being able to buy Bitcoin at $10,000. That's kind of the thing that I'm going with. Now, I could be wrong. This thing could surge up. We got a lot of things going on with debt crises and stuff like that. Bitcoin kind of makes sense. I get it. But as of right now, unless for some reason this goes ballistic, investment standpoint here, you'd be a lot more comfortable where I bought. I sold out early just in case that negative territory wanted one more dip. I was really looking for my accumulation zone. But yeah, all you're asking for here is we could create some kind of big lower high, right? The cool part about if you look at Bitcoin in the past, look at that weekly divergence up here at the highs. This is what told me to get out. This is where I told all my friends to get out. So that's great. You see that divergence confirm and you're like, all right, that's all it's got. So like the worst you should have got out at was $5,000. Or sorry, $5,000, $50,000. A big difference there. We're extreme. Don't think it's having it can. It's just the cycle of it, right? So I don't know the exact cycle. I don't trade Bitcoin as much anymore. Just because I like doing my stocks because I can get weekly ranges, a little bit more info. Bitcoin is kind of like a, man, I hope this happens when I take the trade, right? But you can take it as an investment standpoint and say, this was a good place to invest. Maybe that halving does make you test, say, one of these highs up here. You can see that. We could test something like this. We could test something like this. It would make sense. We can go all the way up to 60, right? 60,000. Before this actually wants to come down, that would make sense. We kind of struggled to break through that level at one point. So that's the first place I'd pay attention to. Then the closing bars from the previous all-time highs here, 65,000 up next. So, but really, Bitcoin's pretty good. You can really just, sometimes you can just follow this weekly and see if it's able to turn back up. So if you're managing risk and all that kind of thing, so you see that dip way down into negative territory, you say, hey, this might be a good investment at this time. Boom. Hey, guess what? If you bought at 24,000 and you held even through this, maybe reapply and gain some more right here around 21,000. Look at that profit you could make. You could have doubled that money. So just good to look at weeklies for me. Use a little bit of positivity coming in. That's going to be small. There we go. Use a little bit of positivity. See if it's able to complete the cup today. Yeah, you overall have to think. I mean, some big people might have to get into Bitcoin for that to really keep going. We do have big people. Insiders are starting to sell like crazy. I showed you guys that a couple live videos ago. Insiders are starting to hit that sell button. We notified you about that last week. We haven't seen the stock suffer, which makes sense. A lot of these people sell a little bit before a big event, say a couple weeks in advance. That way it doesn't look sketchy. Someone also notified that there is going to be like a wedding or some kind of dinner where all the most powerful people that you can think of, like Bill Gates and those types, are going to be all together in one room at the same time. And we just had that AT&T cyber thing. So there's some just interesting things going on with the fundamental side right now, but nothing that has really been shown to the overall average trader that says, hey, I need to get out. But obviously the insiders know something that we don't, and maybe this is going to be the last trap of 2024 before we get PCE. But if we see some more positivity, we just have to look at that positive territory down here, especially on a 30-minute, because we can keep getting positivity as long as we keep curling up in positive territory. till we get some bad news. PCE, Jerome Powell with Congress next week, and CPI are the three that I am really paying attention. Got to pay attention to those types of things. See, NVIDIA still struggling, holding below 800. SPY pretty flat. Q's a little bit up, 0.2. Amazon negative. NVIDIA, Meta getting a little bounce here. See, this is where I would say, okay, Meta might have a little bit of a move left. So if that's not bad, if that's not considered bad news, then we have to say, oh, well, people are treating it as good news, or at least average news. And you see Meta about to curl up in positive territory here. That's why I have it up on your screen. We came down. We did what I said I wanted to happen with NVIDIA. Came into the point of that gap support. And now we're seeing that start to tick up. So I am getting out of my Meta trade at this point. Seeing some kind of tick up here. Could be seeing some positivity. See if that's able to hold. Alrighty. See if that's able to hold, able to curl up. See if that 2 hour has crossed. Maybe we get like a subtle tiny divergence here. Really paying attention to. Actually, I probably should pull this down on the 2 hour. Probably just pay attention to a level like this. We're getting some hip fire moves out of this. This is a pretty even channel here. So we could see one more reaction up and then we start to falter a little bit. That would make sense. Give us an actual head and shoulders within this. Boom, boom, get up to here. So boom, boom, start to break down. So how this would happen is comes up into this area, falls back down. We get that right side right around all this liquidity here. Then we start to break down going into next week. So really want to pay attention to this right now on the 30-minute. But I want to see, because the Qs are still suffering. The longer we move sideways, the more potential for good news to actually push this thing higher, as a lot of things are seen as good news for the market. $300K. I really, my math added up to about 130K. That is something to think about. Tesla, not fully breaking down. We're just seeing that resistance come in right where we expect it. That zone up here is where we're going to expect that resistance. This could just be retesting though, right? So, you know, we get that explosive move up, we retest, then we go a little bit higher. See if we're able to get past this 207. I really would think, you know, we're going to come and fill this gap before all is said and done. That looks like the goal with Tesla as of right now. AMD, well negative, now switching back to positive, possibly going to curl up into positive territory. So there is potential here for that positivity to come in. Complete this cup, get that handle. So even though we saw this flagging, it started to break down. Well, guess what? Now we're buying back up. Still got to pay attention, because if we roll up in positive territory, could mean some good things for AMD, which might mean some good things for NVIDIA. A little less likely at this point to curl up as of right now. Still got this cup. Is that a handle to break down? So there's some things to pay attention to in the market right now. I'm going to go over some of the things that, or through some of the stocks that we do cover on this channel. I'm going to give you that full breakdown right now, because I got to go in a few minutes. So with the SPY, really, we're going to be paying attention to, and I would highly suggest leaving this 30-minute chart up, seeing if that's able to curl up. Could mean some good news is coming. Maybe that GDP reaction is going to be good for the market. Pay attention to the numbers, though. We have to pay attention to the actual reaction. We're just not getting too much reaction as of today, being pretty flat. With that news from durable goods. So durable goods didn't really shake anything up too much, or people are waiting to kind of digest that info and then make their move. So right now you'd have to say, hey, if this curls up, we can complete some kind of cup, get that handle, maybe pop a little bit higher. The Qs here, same kind of thing. And SoFi, I'll look at that for you tomorrow, Ocean Goose. I really have to get going. I kind of went overboard a little bit on this stuff, looking at meta there. So I will look at SoFi for you tomorrow. Just come in and remind me. And I'll try to be on before market opens this time. I'll try to be on well before. So I appreciate you being patient, but I really got to get out of here. Okay, so the cupping here could form, causing that handle. See if this MACD is able to roll up. We've seen this MACD behavior before, get close to negative territory, then it curls up. Guess what? We get that point higher. If that does happen, pay attention to that weekly expected move. We're going to give you those daily ranges in tonight's video as well. So come back for tonight's video because we're going to give you the daily ranges for the SPY. We have landed back within our zone pretty well over the last few days. So if we do see a reaction up here and close the day up here, I actually wouldn't be surprised. Apple looks like it really wants to hold up in this area. We're still pretty close to that positive territory. 2 hour getting curled down, but it's still close to that positive territory. So if this is able to turn up, we can see that positivity continue. Even though Apple is showing all these divergences, it does look pretty weak. So any kind of bounce here, you're kind of stuck between two zones. It wants to come down, we can see those buyers jump in. It wants to explode up, we can see those sellers clap it back down like it has a few times near this zone. Just something to pay attention to, but you do have that possible curl up and a pretty good divergence right here between this price action for that double bottoming to get you up in this zone soon. We have to see if that actually happens with the data that comes out. This 2 hour divergence is something we're really paying attention to. Amazon looking like it wants to start to curl over. Divergence here, triple divergence across the board on the MACD, triple divergence across the board on the RSI. Do we still get that hip fire move up? Let's look at this 30-minute here. We'll see this MACD behavior. No bad news calling that actual selling. So 2 ways that this could happen here if it wants to break down. Well, then we're going to see this cup most likely complete, get a handle, and start to head to lower prices right here. Really pay attention if this little thing gets back into it. But I'd really just see if we're able to take out this basing right in here. Originally, we were saying right here. Well, guess what? We got that retest. We actually gapped above to get back in it. So if you draw a line across here, you're going to notice, where did we gap up? We gapped above that little line. We retest that area, we head higher. So there's a lot of potential here. Now, if it wants to go up, just paying attention to my MACD, my RSI, not overbought, not oversold, right in the middle. So if this wants to curl back up, see if it's got one more push. Pay attention to those weekly ranges that we give out on Patreon, which we are actually going to add a midweek update, a video from me that you get to only see on Patreon, which kind of takes you through the weekly ranges, what is happening with those weekly ranges by Wednesday every single week. That way we can give you possibly some probabilities going forward into Friday, into the end of the week with those options closing. Now, Tesla here, seeing that strength come in. Overall, we said this could curl up right now, but if it wanted to dip a little bit lower, look for this portion right here to hold right around 196. That didn't actually happen, but we did get this cup and a handle. Now we're heading up. Is this just some kind of retest to get fully into this zone up here? 207.42 going to be really important for Tesla. We'll have to see if there's a good reaction there. Not really rapid selling off, just some profit taking, and if we hold at these higher prices, we can go up a little bit higher. Turn on NVIDIA. Overall, just talking about this cup here filling up, and then maybe we get a handle to head a little lower. I really think that 750 would be a good part to either trap people or get that little handle on the end of this cupping. So right now you have this cup, you're getting a small handle here. If you break down, you'll maybe get another handle drop further. But is this overall just going to be a trap if we do that today before GDP, where we see some kind of good reaction? Just paying attention to this MACD. This 30-minute is able to hold at these higher levels and curl back up, or even dip down lower and curl back up. Good chance that we're going to see that 800 level at least tested one more time. AMD kind of giving us some fake outs today, but looks like it really wants to curl up into positive territory. Look how close together that is there. Positive territory, if that curls up, you can create some kind of divergence up here. This flagging here was looking like what we were going to go with, but we see that buying back up. So we're back within this flagging. Now it's kind of up to AMD to go a little bit higher, maybe using this as a left, this as a head. We get a little dip down, get that right shoulder, consolidating before resistance, right? That's a good thing. Meta, something we're looking at here, just the same type of thing as AMD. Looks like it wants to curl up one more time, maybe to come test this high, make a new one. You have those weekly ranges here for it, 502.42. We don't give this on Patreon. This is just for YouTube right now. So Patreon gets all the other numbers, but we just wanted to have some fun, give you guys meta for the week, 465.56 to the downside, but 502.42 is mainly what I'm paying attention to. I think that because of this MACD behavior, we noticed it before, this trickling down, boom, we get a pop. Trickling down, boom, we get a pop. And this one is in negative territory. This one hasn't. So this could see some real positivity there if it's able to curl up. Someone did ask about, Palo Alto, so we'll just talk about that. I think it's a good thing to know when you do see a rapid sell-off or even rapid, buying back up. So you'll notice it, here, what do? We get away from that 9 a little bit. We move sideways, we reconnect, even come a little below. We go up, we get outside of the Bollinger Band again. What do? We go back to the 9. Where is it? So like here, we get outside of it, we react to the 9, we get outside of it, we come back down. Like it's a good part to be like, hey, we're most likely going to retest these moving averages because we got out of the Bollinger Bands. That's overall what I was saying down in here. Yes, we're getting that reaction up. Is that going to be able to take back these moving averages? You're still above the 200. If you can take these back, might mean some good things. Happens under 200. Hey, awesome, Robert. Proud of you, man. Good job. Yeah, hopefully that did help. And I can look at Coinbase, and this will be the last thing I look at. Yeah, look at that coming down. I really think if you just pay attention to this 2 hour, if that's able to curl, you can be pretty confident it's going down into a liquidity zone. So if this is able to curl over, you could see that come down into the first part of liquidity here. If that actually is able to get some kind of bounce there, that's where I was like, okay, this would be a take profit. And then see that bounce, and then you got a nice little head and shoulders. If the selling wants to continue, if this wants to continue to go up, you can even see this MACD, if it wants to create that right shoulder, it could roll up into positive territory, right? So you want to be a little cautious there. What I like to do is pay attention to if it was able to get into negative when it got down to this liquidity zone. So if this got into negative and then popped up, I'd be a little bit more weary because you could see some kind of right shoulder form. Doesn't mean you can't take a trade there, right? But it just means you have to be a little bit risk averse. But I'm glad you found that helpful. I really do appreciate it. Coinbase is one that I have looked at before. It's a fun one. But I think just to leave you guys with this, NVDA, really pay attention to that 800 level and really pay attention to 750. This level here, and I'm going to go ahead and mark off 800 for myself here. But these are whole numbers. This is where most of the puts and calls are at. So the calls to the upside are at 800. The puts are at 750. And you notice we're kind of trapped in between there. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that this morning. Thank you so much for coming by. I really do appreciate it. Smash that like button for me. And come back tomorrow. We get some big news tomorrow and big news Thursday. And we're going to be live a little bit longer tomorrow and a little bit longer on Thursday. Probably an extra hour on here. So thank you guys so much for joining. Really appreciate it. Good luck with all your trading for the rest of the day. And I hope you have a great day, followed by a great night after watching my YouTube video. All right? Peace. No Discord quite yet, Robert, but we'll be looking into that very soon. Sorry. Gotta go.